Good evening and welcome to Have I Got News For You? I'm Romesh Ranganathan. It's week 6 of lockdown and it's also week 6 of my mum asking me why I'm not more like Rishi Sunak. Mum, I've given you enough money. Paul, some people on Twitter have been saying how much they like your wallpaper, mate.
Yes, it's curtains.
It's curtains.
Some people on Twitter need to get a better picture quality, I think. But I take the compliment very nicely.
Yeah, well, I'd be prepared for a backlash now that it's curtains, mate.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I don't get Twitter. They can say what they like.
Ian, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I'm afraid that once again, your bookshelves have come up short. This week, it's been all about J.K. Rowling's, who's been so bored in lockdown, she's decided to rearrange her books according to colour. Let's have a look at her illuminating efforts.
She really is very, very bored indeed. I've got plenty to do. I haven't got time to rearrange my bookshelves. I'm going to see the cricket. It's on next door. To repeat.
On Ian's team tonight is comedian Maisie Adam, who recently tweeted that she's living with her brother and boyfriend. Maisie, can you please confirm that that is 2 people?
Yes. I know the North has a dodgy reputation for that sort of thing, but I can confirm it's 2 very separate people.
And on Paul's team tonight is broadcaster James O'Brien. James, you host a radio phone-in, so I guess this will feel pretty familiar to you, just listening to a handful of idiots while sat there in your underpants.
It's a busman's holiday.
Are you actually wearing trousers, James?
Why are we suddenly talking about whether or not I'm wearing trousers? There you go. I've got trousers on.
OK, but
no fake news here.
Well, to be fair, you only got up a little bit. Those could be shorts.
I think that's taken the curse off my curtains in terms of the Twitter feed. I don't think they're going to be bothering about my curtains anymore. So thanks very much for that.
In a rare bit of good news, the continued global lockdown has seen an increase in birds singing, and one rare specimen has re-emerged in India. Let's have a listen to its enchanting song. I've reliably been informed that they would have included that clip regardless of whether I would have been presenting or not.
It's good to see, though, that the emu's career wasn't cut short by the death of Rod Hull.
Following the cancellation of his flight to Magaluf, one man refused to let it get in the way of his holiday plans.
How does he know it's his?
And at Burke Hall, words got around that Harry and Meghan definitely aren't coming back from LA.
Oh, come on.
I genuinely didn't know you could clap sarcastically till I saw Camilla there. As if she didn't want Charles to get better. If you're looking longingly at that bottle of spirits you bought 10 years ago on holiday, here's a warning.
Ja chłodziłam od rana. Ona jest w takiej butelce kapslowej.
Oh my God.
Still, it is a quick way of repainting the spare room. Right, let's get on with the show. And we start with the bigger stories of the week. Ian and Maisie, take a look at this.
OK, that's Boris saying he's delighted to be back before he announces that he's got to go again because he's had a baby. That may be the baby, but who knows?
This is the 2020 Ryder Cup being held indoors.
And this is bleach. This is Trump's recipe for defeating bowl cleaning. They've dropped the E from bowl. And there he is. And there's someone who knows what they're talking about, looking incredibly embarrassed. Look at her legs. Oh, God, don't say that.
Yeah, this is the return to work of Boris Johnson on Monday, just in time to go on paternity leave on Wednesday. The first thing Boris did on his return to work was to chair a meeting of the Cobra Committee. Boris had lots of questions to ask, the first one being, where do they hold them?
I'm surprised that it's such big news about him having a baby. It's his 6th or 7th baby. I was quite disappointed they didn't announce the baby weighing in at 6 or 7 pounds.
No, they're going to do it with the name. Well, Rees Moggs called his 6th baby Sextus. So I think Boris is probably going to call this one Septimus or possibly Octopus or even Decimus, depending on your counting system.
Big decision for Boris is how to keep control of the pandemic without frustrating people desperate to get out of lockdown. Everyone agrees that things won't be the same again for a long time. What's the phrase that everyone's using, Ian?
Is this the new normal?
Yes, the new normal.
I mean, it is extraordinary. I mean, the press in this country, having spent a couple of weeks saying, why didn't we have lockdown an awful lot sooner? They're now saying, why can't we stop lockdown an awful lot sooner? But it's balancing whether we slowly, I mean, let all under 30-year-olds out and they can do what they like and the rest of us have to be locked up for a couple of years. I think that's one solution, or do it regionally.
Like when my grandparents talk about what they did during the war and all of their national service, and then ours is essentially, oh, we just had to stay indoors and binge watch Netflix to the point where we were watching documentaries on the Panama Canal.
When was that on? That sounds terrific.
It's amazing, Ian. Honestly, it's amazing. Get involved.
Fantastic. Panama Canal, for God's sake.
The first wartime analogy was that we didn't close the pubs during the Blitz. That was a reason why we shouldn't have the lockdown, which kind of missed the point that the Germans weren't really trying to kill Londoners by infecting them in pubs. And then I heard another character saying that I think it might have been Farage, saying that we didn't have social distancing during the Blitz, and I still haven't quite worked out the logic behind that idea, as if maybe it would have helped. The bombs would have landed in between people if they'd all stayed 2 metres apart.
Well, there's clearly a competition running to see who can say the new normal the most. But who's winning? Let's have a look.
How different is the new normal going to be?
This will be the new normal.
Moving to a new normal.
What we will be seeking to do is find a new normal.
Won't be just going back, it will be a new normal, if you like.
I had just sort of naturally assumed when Trudeau was saying this is the new normal, he was just referring to his facial hair. And I was just thinking, I'm here for it.
Well, Trudeau did say it first, to be fair. One of the features of the new normal will be the compulsory wearing of face masks in various situations. It's already started. Have a look. Whoever did that, I know you were trying to be funny, but you've just made him look a little bit predatory, haven't you? Did you see Priti Patel's latest insight into antisocial behavioural trends, Ian?
One of the great successes of the lockdown, according to Priti Patel, is that crime, particularly shoplifting and burglary, has gone down. And she said this entirely straight-faced, without thinking that all the shops are closed and most people are at home, so the burglars can't get in.
Yes, at the daily press conference on Saturday, Priti Patel noted shoplifting is down from this time last year. Which is arguably because most shops are shut. And forgery of postal orders has really dropped off. And theft of typewriter ribbon.
Yeah. Nightclub fights, they've probably dropped off, I imagine. Sledging.
Can I take this opportunity to congratulate, in the spirit of Priti Patel's shoplifting comments, can I just congratulate Kidderminster Harriers on going through the whole of April unbeaten for the first time in their history. It's a frankly astonishing achievement.
Supermarket shortages seem to be over, but we might be running out of something else by July. Do you know what that is?
July.
It's soap. But by soap, I mean Coronation Street, EastEnders, Emmerdale and Hollyoaks.
Yeah, will they start putting this into the storylines of soaps, do you think? They'll start putting COVID-19 storylines into EastEnders. And I mean, then you really would have a reason to shout, get out of my pub.
It's very rare that I've watched an episode of EastEnders and thought this could do with being a bit bleaker.
Is it going to be Coronation Street?
Oh, very good.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I don't believe that clap. That's a Prince of Wales clap.
That is a Camilla clap.
Ian, when was the last time you watched Coronation Street? Was it when Albert Tatlock got done for scrumping apples?
I think I gave up just before then.
Did you?
Those soaps that are in hospitals like Holby City or Casualty, are they really going to go ahead and continue with storylines that aren't about this mass pandemic? That seems quite strange.
I think they donated ventilators, didn't they? Didn't they
Yes.
program
Did they?
donate ventilators to the NHS? Yeah.
It's been very strange listening to The Archers, where it just hasn't happened yet. So they're still, obviously, 2 months or so recorded in advance. And I find it strangely comforting, actually, to tune into an everyday tale of country folk that doesn't yet involve COVID-19 or or coronavirus, but they're in for an almighty shock when they find out not only that there's a global pandemic, but also that they're 2 months behind the rest of the world in dealing with it.
Well, the daily press conference has exposed just how weak the government subs bench is. What was Housing and Local Government Secretary Robert Jenrick's blunder, James?
I know he went to his parents' house, but that didn't happen at the press conference.
That was last week's blunder.
Was he accused of not wearing trousers behind the podium, and much to everybody's embarrassment, he stood up and waved his groin at the camera?
It wasn't that, Paul.
No, I've been watching the wrong shows then.
Yeah, I don't know what you're watching, Paul.
No, it's good though.
Tiger King, mostly.
And the Panama Canal documentary.
Oh, that sounds so good.
Well, what actually happened, James, is he deputised for Matt Hancock on one of the press conferences and was specifically told not to mention the delivery from Turkey of much-needed PPE equipment in case something went wrong. But he somehow managed to mention it anyway and big it up as a very significant additional shipment. And you can see that episode of The Thick of It on iPlayer.
This was shortly before the Turkish government revealed that they actually knew nothing about it. And then when it finally did land late, it didn't contain anything like the number of gowns that had been announced. But that's the new normal. None of this matters anymore. They can say it and waltz away to the next debacle and faux pas.
I was delighted to see, after feeling very sort of humiliated by the German government's performance, that German doctors have now staged a protest because they haven't got any PPE equipment. They're going naked to say, why can't you give us something? So it's obviously everyone around the world has suddenly found that this stuff costs a lot of money.
There you go.
No, it's their equivalent of calendar girls. It's just nice to feel that we're not the only European failure in this department.
It's another big week for Matt Hancock. Paul, do you know why?
Yes, but I'd rather not talk about it.
Oh, fair enough. It's to do with his 100,000 a day testing target and whether it might be met.
Yes, he said he made this claim with full confidence, this prediction, this goal, and are we there yet? I don't think we are.
Ian, is it 100,000 tests or 100,000 capacity?
I mean, most of us thought he said 100,000 tests, but they've slightly changed the goalpost, so it's the capacity to do 100,000 tests, even if we don't do any at all. I like Paul's answer, which is, I know this, but I'm not prepared to talk about it, which is what the government keeps saying every time they're asked anything about anything that's happening. Well, I don't think you need to know. We'll tell you later.
Who has been doing a poor job running the testing at Chessington World of Adventures?
Oh.
Is it Bobo the chimp?
It's actually been turned into a regional testing site run by Deloitte, the famously shoddy accountancy firm, despite being fined over £4 million last year for professional incompetence.
Oh, right, so it's all in good hands.
They were handed the testing contract by the government, but they've been sending the wrong test results to the wrong people.
Brilliant.
I'm confused by this story. A firm of accountants are tested at Chessington Zoo. Is that what you're saying?
It's the new normal.
These are unprecedented times.
Yeah, this is... Paul, I totally take your point, Paul. Ordinarily, I'd be just like, what the hell is this story? But it didn't even register with me now. What are Belgians being told to do to help their economy, Ian?
Is it drink?
No, it's actually to eat chips to help reduce Belgium's potato mountain. The call has come from the head of Belgapom, the Belgian potato industry body. Do you know what he's called?
Monsieur Friet.
Mr. Chips.
Fritz.
Charlie Big Potatoes.
He's called Romain Cools.
Whoa!
No way. Romain Cools. And he's head of what? Belgapom?
Yes, Belgium's potato authority.
This just gets better and better. And he's telling people to eat chips. A man called Romain Cools, head of Belgapom, is telling people to keep eating chips to keep the country afloat. The world has gone bat.
Literally.
What was Donald Trump's latest contribution to the health of Americans?
He mused aloud whether it would be a good idea for people to inject disinfectant into themselves or to perhaps even drink it to clean out their lungs. I think he should be the first to volunteer. He later claimed that he was being sarcastic. There was a marvellous bit when he said, no, I was being sarcastic. I was talking to the reporters. And in fact, I was looking straight at you, he said to a reporter. I was looking straight at you when I said this. And the reporter said, I wasn't there.
I was just going to say, we ran a piece in Private Eye 3 weeks ago, which was meant to be a joke. saying that because bleach is very effective against the virus, perhaps you should put your head over a bowl of it and inhale it. And I just had no idea he was a subscriber.
Well, that just is a gratuitous advert for Private Eye. Why is the lady allowed to come on and gratuitously publicise Private Eye?
Well, as Paul says, he's got some very interesting ideas on how we might treat coronavirus that the experts might not have thought of.
Supposing we hit the body with a tremendous, whether it's ultraviolet or just very powerful light. And I think you said that hasn't been checked, but you're going to test it. And then I said, supposing you brought the light inside the body, which you can do either through the skin or in some other way. Right, and then I see the disinfectant where it knocks it out in a minute, 1 minute. And is there a way we can do something like that by injection inside or...
Oh, she just looks like every woman who's sat at the bus stop minding their own business and the weird crazy guy just doesn't leave them alone. Like, her logic is just stare at the ground for long enough and maybe he'll go away.
I can think of a good way of getting light into his body. I'd shove an angle-poised lamp right up the Oval Office.
She's not completely blameless either, because she's given interviews in which she said that Donald Trump's business past, which involves various bankrupt casinos, has given him skills and insights that really help him understand the science in this case.
Here he is saying goodbye to the first person to try injecting themselves with disinfectant.
We'll do it.
Okay. If you can remember back that far, this is the return to work of Boris Johnson on Monday. There's speculation as to how Boris's new son might affect his thinking on government policy. Well, if my experience of dealing with new babies is anything to go by, he'll be wanting to reopen the pubs within about 2 days. Speaker of the House, Sir Lindsay Hoyle, welcomed the news and said for Carrie and Boris, 2020 is certainly a year they will never forget. Although hopefully with enough therapy, the rest of us might. Paul and James, take a look at this.
German football fan, looking very excited. Well, German anyway, looking very excited.
I can't believe it. I've just found Trump's brain cell. There's Jeremy Corbyn.
Jeremy Corbyn missing the ball but winning the argument.
And there is Boris Johnson stopping a child, which is rare for him.
So this is the news that the England football team aren't as bad at taking penalties as we all think. Who's decided that England are good at taking penalties?
It must be the Germans, I suppose, as James identified a German at the top of the clip. Is it the Germans saying that?
It is the Germans. It's German scientists at the Sport University in Cologne.
Oh, yeah, but they're taking the mickey, aren't they? I mean, clearly. Just look at the record.
Yeah, well, apparently, according to the German scientists at the University in Cologne, they have come to the conclusion after researchers reviewed over 5,000 historical penalties and deduced that there is no such thing as the English penalty curse. So it's just 100% English incompetence then. Phew.
5,000 historical penalties, like 1066... 1914, the Great War. How historical are these penalties? There's one on the Bayeux Tapestry, I know that.
Yeah, Harold lets it in. I mean, aren't they just being nice to us? Isn't this just to help morale?
It's a strange compliment to come out with in such a time of, oh, we should all be united, let's give each other a compliment. And all, like the Germans are like, I guess you're okay, you're not cursed when it comes to penalties. It's the most passive-aggressive comment ever.
It feels like it could almost be sarcasm, doesn't it? Oh, you are so good at the penalties, you really are. You're the best. Time for a quick football quiz. I'm going to show you an England footballer and I want you to tell me who they famously missed a penalty against. First up, Chris Waddle.
That was Germany, wasn't it? The 1990 semi-final?
Isn't that the guy from Tiger King?
Paul, you've absolutely nailed that. Chris Waddle missed a World Cup penalty in 1990 against the Germans, although his biggest crime in an England shirt is probably that haircut. Next, Stuart Pearce.
Also Germany.
James, you're absolutely right. He also missed against the Germans in 1990, although he did redeem himself 6 years later by scoring a penalty against the Spanish, as Ian knows. Let's see how he celebrated that.
Whoa!
So we wanted to show you the footage, but the footage of Stuart Pearce celebrating that goal cost $6,000 a minute.
Good grief.
What?
Incidentally, Ian, do you know what Stuart Pearce's nickname was as a player?
It was Piercy.
Ian, I've got to be honest with you, I admire your attempt. It was actually Psycho.
Psycho? Right.
When researchers looked at penalties awarded during open play, England players had the highest success rate of any nation, scoring 90% of the time. However, when you only count match-defining penalty shootouts, that success rate drops to 61%. As former Scottish footballer Graham Souness eloquently put it, they're bottling it. Yes, if only they had Scotland's record in World Cup matches. And finally, current England manager Gareth Southgate, doing his famous Prince Charles impression there.
I thought he was doing the FA Cup.
He missed a penalty against the Germans, but without that miss, he wouldn't have had the opportunity to star in this astonishing Pizza Hut advert.
Miss, Pizza Hut pan pizzas, unless I'm mistaken. Thank you, Miss. Come on, Gareth, it only took me 6 years to get over it. Have some pan pizza.
Pan pizza from Pizza Hut. A light, fluffy base with a crispy crust smothered with generous toppings.
Thanks a lot, boys. I feel much better now. Ooh, this time he's at the post.
To be fair, he was ahead of his time. That's how we're all going to be eating in restaurants from now on. This is the news that English footballers are surprisingly good at taking penalties. The report also concluded that my eyes are really straight and that I don't overly rely on my mum for TV formats. Priti Patel welcomed the news, adding that England also have a 100% record of not losing penalty shootouts when there is no football happening. A study of penalty taking has found that England footballers are the best. The research was carried out at the German Sport University Cologne. The project should have gone to an England research team who'd got down to the final two. Unlucky. Finally, would you like to see an English footballer hitting the target under pressure?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Let's have a look. Time now for round two. Rather than buzzers this week, I want you to pick a noise or phrase to shout out when you think you know the answer. So, Maisie, you look like you're already ready there with something.
I am ready.
That's nice. Ian, have you got something?
I have. I've got these clippers, which my neighbour dropped off, and he said, you need to use these, which I thought was quite rude, but I haven't yet, but...
Great. James?
I'll go for a catchphrase, if I may, and I will choose the catchphrase of the head of the World Health Organization from 6 or 7 weeks ago, when he urged every country on the planet to test.
OK, thank you. And Paul, what have you got?
I've got my dear friend Nicholas Parsons introducing Just a Minute.
Welcome to Just a Minute.
OK, well, round two is called What's Happened to This? I'm going to show you a picture and I want you to tell me what's happened to it since the picture was taken to make it newsworthy. And I use the term newsworthy fairly loosely. So here's your first one.
Oh, this is a dumper truck and somebody, I'm sure somebody has filled it up to be a hot tub, haven't they, during the lockdown?
Maisie, you are across the news that counts, aren't you? This is Yorkshire builder Dave Eastwood, who turned his dumper truck into a hot tub. Here it is. Paul, what's the main advantage of having a hot tub in a dumper truck, do you think?
Well, it's better than having a dump in a hot bath. I don't know.
Well, according to Dave, the best part is you can drive it round so it's always in the sun. You just have to drive it slowly so the water doesn't spill. Yeah, never mind your missus, Dave. Ian, how did Dave create the bubbles in his hot tub?
I think my previous answer established that, didn't it?
Is it bottled water?
According to Yorkshire Live, Dave uses shower gel and a hand drill.
Wow.
Join Dave next week where he'll be making a back massager out of a jackhammer. So this is Yorkshire builder Dave Eastwood, who turned a dumper truck into a hot tub. I've also gone to extreme lengths to keep my wife happy during lockdown. I've moved into the garage. Builder Dave filled his rusty dumper truck with water and shower gel and created bubbles using the plastering attachment of a hand drill. Despite all that, he's still been declared the most romantic man in Yorkshire. OK, so fingers on buzzers or whatever you're doing. The question is, what's happened to this? Go on, Ian.
Cadbury's have changed their logo. They've paid a huge amount of money to redesign their logo so that it says something completely different. Here's some chocolate.
Yes, well, this is the news that after 50 years, Cadbury has decided to change its logo in a major brand refresh. So this is the old logo. Now, shall we have a look at the brand new logo, which some advertising experts have said can't have been cheap? Boom!
Oh, I hardly recognised it.
No, I thought this was ridiculous because it looked so similar to the old one. But then I read around some of the industry publications and they explained that for £1 million you change the whole global footprint of the brand. And I still thought it was completely ridiculous.
But I did read Cadbury saying it wasn't £1 million, it was just hundreds and thousands.
Oh dear. Yes, well done.
Look at Paul's face.
Cadbury don't make hundreds and thousands. The joke is flawed.
It's Captain Logic.
Why can't you let Ian have his moment, Paul?
Well, if he started letting him have moments like that, there'll be no end to it.
Yeah, I'll be doing panto.
Jokes with punchlines that don't make any sense.
Well, Cadbury's have apparently officially denied that it cost them £1 million. They didn't come up with the hundreds and thousands gag because apparently they said it wouldn't really make sense.
Exactly. And if they've paid £1 million for it, I mean, that figure's out of this world. Oh, no, sorry, that's Galaxy. See, now that's a joke, Ian. That's a joke.
Look, all that happened is the, very overpaid consultants, and they were asked to find a new angle on it. If you look at the picture, they have. It's about 45 degrees.
Ian, before I laugh at that, can I just get verification from Paul that makes logical sense?
No, I think that was just a general comment. I don't think it was meant as humour.
I love this. Paul's become a sort of VAR of logical jokes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, complete vasted.
A Cadbury spokesman said, this is part of a much wider brand refresh, which will touch all of Cadbury's visual assets. I'll be honest, since lockdown, I can't stop touching Cadbury's visual assets. In exciting news, guys, I've got a bonus point on offer. On the new dairy milk packaging, the glass and a half of milk is pouring into a chunk of chocolate. What was the glass and a half of milk pouring into on the old chocolate wrapper?
Was it being poured in down the throat of a lactose-intolerant toddler?
No, it's actually poured into the eye.
Oh.
There you go.
I think it's cleverer that it pours into the eye.
Is that another reference to your magazine?
With any luck.
So, this is the news that Cadbury has unveiled its first new logo in 50 years. A spokesman for Cadbury said they wanted to review the brand image. We only wish we had your problems, said the head of marketing for Corona Beer. It was also revealed earlier this month that Cadbury workers are using chocolate machines to produce personal protection equipment. And remember, of course, when it comes to hygiene, you have to wash your fingers of fudge for at least 20 seconds. Next picture. What's happened to this?
Oh, test. I think it's a sheep. Well, it's definitely a sheep, but I think it went missing for 7 years. Is its name Pringle or Sprinkle or something like that? And then it reappeared in Australia with no warning whatsoever. Having disappeared as a lamb, it came back as a fully grown sheep to its farm.
Which country did it go missing from? You say it reappeared in Australia.
It disappeared from here, and then it reappeared here. But the story is that there was a 7-year gap. It's not a geography story. It's a lapse of time story. Yes.
Well, James, you're absolutely right. This is the news that a lost sheep called Prickles has returned after 7 years in the wilderness. After 7 years, Prickles now looks like this.
Oh,
wow.
I mean, that's better than most of us after 6 weeks in lockdown. What headline did the Times go with for this story?
Where have you been?
Yeah, it's got to be.
I'll be back.
Guys, I've got to be honest with you. I think amongst you came up with better ones yourselves. What they came up with was sheep comes home after 7 years on the lamb.
What? That's what they went with?
That's what they went with. Yeah, I'm sorry, Maisie.
Do you think that doesn't work, Paul? Does that fail your miserability test?
We'll just go to VAR.
I hereby withdraw my criticism of Ian's 100,000s gag. I didn't realise that was Oscar Wilde compared to that one.
How did Prickles owners discover that she might still be alive?
She came and knocked on the door.
According to the Times, farmer Alice Gray first spotted a huge ball of fluff on her security cameras. Prickles then officially reappeared during a family barbecue. Brave move, Prickles. Maisie, what's Prickles going to be given?
I would hope a big shave, maybe courtesy of Ian Hislop himself.
Have you ever sheared a sheep, Ian?
Do you know, I haven't.
Oh, you've not lived!
Maisie, you're actually right. It's something most of us can only dream of right now. It's a haircut. Prickles is having her fleece shorn for charity, and it's thought her coat might break the current world record of 41.1 kilos. It's a record which, after 6 weeks in lockdown, Brian May has also got his eye on. Would you like to see a video of a sheep getting its daily lockdown exercise? I know you would.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Definitely.
Oh. And is that a dumper truck to have a hot tub bath in afterwards?
This is Prickles the sheep, who returned home after going missing for 7 years. According to Metro, it's estimated Prickles the sheep's woolly coat weighs over 41 kilos. Still not the biggest fleece ever. That'd be the shop at the end of my road that now thinks 6 eggs should cost £9. Here's Prickles.
Oh, wow.
With that can of petrol, it's like Ocado Tasmania has delivered a barbecue kit. Once again, fingers on buzzers or whatever you're doing. The question is, what's happened to this?
This is possibly the late Kim Jong-un.
Yeah, this is the news that there may have been a change in the status of Kim Jong-un from alive to dead.
The mourners will be in their hundreds and thousands, Ian.
That's one of your better ones.
Thank you.
I must make a note of it.
Who might succeed Kim Jong-un if he is indeed an ex-tyrant, Ian?
Kim Il Kardashian.
Well, the answer is it's his sister, Kim Yo-jong, who could succeed him. The world's media has been intrigued by Kim Jong-un's absence, none more so than news website North Wales Live.
I think I saw this. Wasn't it that he'd once criticised Anglesey or something like that? And they described it in the headline as Anglesey critic is rumoured to be dead.
Maisie, you're very, very close. Let's have a look at a tweet from North Wales Live. Tyrant whose regime once hacked Anglesey Council dead, reports suggest. This is speculation over whether the North Korean leader Kim Jong-un is dead or not. Do you remember the good old days when Kim Jong-un was the scariest thing to come out of the Far East? The West is using satellite imagery to try to get pictures of Kim Jong-un. To be fair, he is a big unit.
My cat's just walked in.
Your cat's just walked in?
What's the name of your cat, Ian? William Pitt the Younger or something like that?
Reese Moggy.
What is your cat called, Ian?
He's called Colin.
I think Ian's about to do an incredible impression of a Bond villain, if this goes the way I hope. Ah, there's Colin.
Can I just say, this is proof. He really isn't meant to be in here. Are you, Colin? You are meant to be over there.
Time now for the Missing Words round, which this week features as its guest publication, Gym Owner Monthly, which features a lot of cross-trainers who can't get into gyms at the moment. And we start with Exeter man surprised to find what in his allotment?
The Jeremy Corbyn.
Is it Kim Jong-un?
It is, in fact, Exeter man surprised to find silver Nissan Micra in his allotment. This week in Devon, a man arrived at his allotment to find this.
Oh, wow.
According to Devon Live Online, sadly, some vegetables were lost. Emergency services were quickly on the scene, but they couldn't find a pulse. Next up, what is cool and uber sexy?
Is it a cold but attractive taxi?
That is exceptional work there, but it's not the answer.
Oh, it's Eamon Holmes.
Eamon Holmes? No, it's not Eamon Holmes.
New gymnasium equipment imported from Finland is cool and uber sexy.
You're not far off. It's a good juice bar in a gym is cool and uber sexy. This is an article from Gym Owner Monthly about the importance of having the right ambience in your on-site juice bar. I've not been able to go to the gym for the past 5 weeks and 39 years. Next, the common question to ask oneself when what is why am I doing this?
Appearing on Have I Got News For You?
Is it injecting oneself with bleach?
The common question to ask oneself when doing press-ups in a gym is, why am I doing this?
Well, listen, you are incredibly close there, Paul, because a common question to ask oneself when walking into a gym is, why am I doing this?
Right.
According to this article in Gym Owner Monthly, the industry is cluttered by online influencers, YouTube workouts and self-titled gurus. You see, Mum, not everyone loves Joe Wicks. Next, a woman accidentally orders headphones inscribed with the words, what?
Do not resuscitate.
It's not do not resuscitate.
Property of Eamon Holmes.
Do not resuscitate.
All good answers, not the correct one. The correct answer is woman accidentally orders headphones inscribed with the words, leave in the back garden if I'm not there. This week, Rosa from Market Harbour accidentally personalised her new headphones with her delivery instructions. Here's the case they came in.
Oh, lovely.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Oh, bless.
Next, man tries to conquer fear of heights by what? But unfortunately, what?
Man tries to conquer fear of heights by climbing tree, but unfortunately falls out.
Is it by climbing Everest? But unfortunately doesn't.
That is
a top story, that one.
Correct answer is man tries to conquer fear of heights by climbing onto a stepladder in his garden, but unfortunately falls into a hedge. It's a story of Alan Gill from Wrexham who tried to cure his fear of heights with a stepladder. Let's have a look.
Oh no.
Go over.
Oh, no!
Yeah, it is an unusual approach to take until you get to the part of the article in the Metro where Alan says, I'd already had a couple of pints. Next up, members of the royal family are known to enjoy what in their spare time?
Holding down a proper job.
Clapping unenthusiastically.
Is it Woking Pizza Express?
Acid house raves.
Yeah, it's got to be.
Members of the royal family are known to enjoy executing a good fitness plan in their spare time. This is an article from Gym Owner Monthly about how the royal family like to exercise. To be fair, Harry and Meghan have run 7,000 miles for their own well-being. Naturally, all the royal family can work up a sweat, with one notable exception, of course. And finally, new evidence suggests the Romans invented what?
Is it Latin?
The headline's actually, new evidence suggests the Romans invented recycling. Researchers in Italy this week have claimed that the Romans invented recycling after an archaeological dig at Pompeii. I'm not sure how they know that. They must have dug up some ancient pottery fragments from Cafe Nero. So the final scores are Ian and Maisie have 5 and Paul and James have 8.
Sorry, Maisie, I'm really sorry.
No, I'm sorry, Ian. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you should both be sorry. Yeah. On which note, we say thank you to our panellists, Ian Hislop and Maisie Adam, Paul Merton and James O'Brien. But before we go, there's just time for the caption competition. Let's have a look.
Jason, I was speaking metaphorically when I said let's keep this meeting under wraps.
It's the new normal.
And I leave you with the news that in Taiwan, one man who's new to social media misunderstands how Zoom works. In Tewkesbury, an explanation emerges following a mysterious spate of banjo thefts. And in Westminster, as he wonders whether he might still be infectious, Matt Hancock spots Michael Gove's cat. Good night.